Exclusive offers only available until August 31st. Don't wait to take this important decision. Contact us today to schedule a visit and see for yourself why so many families trust Caballero Rivera with their most precious memories. Call 786-253-0211, 786-253-0211. Southern Memorial, a place of serenity, beauty, and enduring care. Each day, the cost of living is increasing. It is the same as funeral and cemetery costs. Pre-plan your arrangements today and save your family the stress of finding the money later. Finance your plan up to 7 years with low down payments and affordable monthly payments. To set up your appointment, call Kathleen Barreau at 786-253-0211. 786-253-0211. Chat with Kat, chaque mardi from 6 o'clock to 6:30 p.m. discussing finance, mortgage, assurance, funeral care sur WSRF 1580 AM and 99.5 FM avec Kathleen Barreau. Nous là pour connecter avec toutes les ressources financières qu'Apedeo grandit. Bienvenue tout le monde. Welcome to Chat with Kat. I am your host for the next 28 minutes. I am your host, Kathleen Barreau, with Chat with Kat. We have a very, very jam-packed special for you guys. We actually have 2 sets of guests. Not one, but 2 sets of guests. So I'm not going to take too long because I have only 28 minutes. And we're going to go with our very, 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 very special guest. She's actually like a friend of the family. I've been knowing her for a while. I've been knowing her family for a while. They used to babysit me, but she's such a huge advocate to the community. What she does is unparalleled. She does amazing work for our community. As you guys know, I am your death concierge. I help with enterrement. I help with arrangement funéraire. But after everything is settled, once the dust is settled, what do you guys do after that? How do you deal with the grief of losing, your spouse or your mother or your dad? You see a therapist. I know in our community it is very, very frowned upon, but we have a very special guest. We have a special guest who's been in this industry for 15 years. She doesn't call herself a therapist. She actually calls herself a public servant, just as the Bible would say that we are. We are a servant to the Lord, and this is her ministry, and she's been indebted. She's been blessed to do this ministry for 15 years. I am going to introduce Delphine Gervais. She is a cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, family system solution focused therapy, narrative therapy, eye movement, desensitization.
A lot.
She's a lot.
We're not going into it.
We're not going.
You're overwhelming me right now.
Oh, okay. I don't mean to overwhelm you. I only got you for a little bit of minutes. So please welcome to the show, Ms. Delphine Gervais. I wish I had applause.
Thank you, Kat. So the narrative is always going to be that you were the little kid in all the stories that I tell about you, because that's how far back we go. Making me feel old, but thank you again. Actually, I've been in this role as a therapist, social worker for over 20-something years.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
Been a very interesting journey, and I am happy to be here with you. So as a group owner, I am the group owner of Breakthrough Care and Resource Center. We are licensed in 7 states to offer virtual telehealth counseling services.
Awesome.
Our base is in Florida, and we do offer therapy in Haitian Creole in English.
Awesome.
Because as Black women, we feel like we got to add and do more things. I am also the nonprofit leader of the Center for Equitable Access and Treatment of Trauma.
Wow.
So we are a nonprofit organization that offers free counseling services to those in the South Florida community.
That is amazing. So I don't even need to ask you who you are, because you basically gave us a great introduction. But I have to ask you, what inspired you to get into one of the specialties? Because I know you have you wear a lot of hats. So we're going to talk about grief management today. What inspired you to get into this specialty?
So I've always been one to ask the more uncomfortable questions. I've been curious by nature, and death is one of those things that people don't like to talk about.
They don't?
They do not. And as a social worker, I have been blessed to see people through different phases of their life, and death being one of those. Whether you are a caregiver who is caring for someone who is about to transition, whether you have had a history of expectant grief and loss, because there are times when the person has not left and transitioned, but there might have been a long illness. So in my work as a social worker in different systems, it was one of those things. I'm like, okay, not enough of us are talking about it.
Yes.
Specifically dans la communauté haïtienne.
Exactement.
Parce que les moun mouri, nous pas parler de ça.
That's
Everybody
it.
just go back to their life per usual.
Exactly.
I think part of it also was my own personal experiences around grief and loss.
Interesting.
This year marks 10 years since I lost my own mom.
Wow.
And actually, this month is her birthday.
Wow.
So, personal things, lived experiences, and the work that I do has lent me more comfortability around this subject.
Okay. So tell me, what exactly is grief and how is it manifested differently, I guess, per individual?
Okay. So that's a good question. When we think about grief and loss, we should also think about it in terms of not just losing a person, but losing a way of life, losing status, losing identity. So we'll put that aside, but I want people to think about it in terms of that as well. But in the terms of losing someone, grief and loss can manifest itself in different ways. For some people, when we're waiting for people to cry, right?
Yes.
Those tears may not necessarily come, but there may be anger, there may be frustration, there may be irritability, loss of sleep, lack of appetite, isolating self from others. Again, in the work that I've done, I've seen a gamut of that. Different people experiencing different things. Of course, if we grew up in a home where moun pa pale de sa, mette garçon sou, pou ki sa wap kriye, se femme sou, like that messaging then informs how we now show up in life, because no, we don't cry. Or if we cry, we don't cry around certain people. Or if we're
Right.
exhibiting symptoms around the loss of the person or the pending loss of someone, it's like, no, we just don't do that. That's not how we ride.
That is true. Are there any different types of grief? Like, are there any different forms of grief? If so, can you explain?
So there's the immediate grief, right? Person has passed and the flood of emotions are there. And then there is the delayed grief, meaning it could be years before you experience symptoms around that. There might be something later down the road that triggers that. Especially in our community, we have experienced a lot of corporate grief, meaning this is something that we have all experienced as a group of people, whether it was the tremblement de terre, whether it was slavery and what has come out of that. Those things are shared experiences. And so every year at certain times of the year, we may have a collective experience of honoring the loss of these individuals or persons because it's something that's shared. There's also that sort of grief that comes from, in my case, knowing that my mom had cancer and had it for 4 years before she passed. So you know that the end is coming. You just don't have a date, a time. Now, none of us know when we leave Earth, because all of us are not getting out of here alive. But to know that your loved one is experiencing a deterioration in their health does cause this anticipated grief. And that can be manifests itself in terms of anxiousness, because you're waiting for the other shoe to drop at any moment. So it looks different for different people. And so the assumptions that we have as clinicians is to meet you where you are. And not to think, well, because you're this, because you're that, then you should be experiencing certain things in this way.
That's really good. Wow, that's good. That's good, right? That's good, Jean Robert, right? Okay. So many of us are familiar with the stages of grief. Some of us are not. Can you touch on the stages of grief?
So Kubler-Ross, phenomenal theorist in our profession, has gave us a blueprint of how we should look at stages of grief. We have, and a lot of times, yes, we know anger, bargaining, acceptance. But in more recent years, we have kind of moved away from that perspective and looked at grief and loss on a spectrum. Meaning that at year 1, you may not have experienced much of the loss, but at year 5, there may have been some things that have shown up for you because of things coming along through life or successive losses, whether it's in the form of people, places, or things. So clinicians are more apt to look at it in terms of, okay, where are you on this spectrum? Is this something that is very raw for you in this season versus another season? Because sometimes people look, well, the holidays, they're going to be really sad. But in actuality, your memories aren't necessarily attached to the holidays. For me, it's never the holidays because we didn't celebrate Christmas in the traditional Western ways. So my memories of my mom could be sprinkled along. I see someone wearing a colorful skirt or un jupe plissé, and that's like, oh, triggered memories. Even for today, I'm wearing a scent that was my first perfume from my mom. And so it's a scent that takes us back there. So when we think about grief and loss, we should think about it in terms of seasons. Some people, they start a mental clock down after the loss of a person at the time of the death or the time leading up to the death. So again, let's not make assumptions about certain things, and let's just pretty much meet people where they are with this.
Okay. How long does the grieving process typically last, or does it vary, I guess, from person to person?
As strongly as you loved an individual is as strongly you will grieve them for the rest of your life. There is no end to it. It's the ebbs and the flows. Think about it like, I know you love going to the beach and sitting at the beach and you're watching the waters come and go and come and go. That's what grief is. Sometimes those waves come crashing real hard and they come over you and they almost want to drag you into the water, even if you were sitting on the edge. Or sometimes they just come and they lap at your ankles and then the water goes back in. So, and sometimes the water doesn't, it's low tide, so the water doesn't come in at all. But trust and believe it's a lifelong experience.
That's good. Are there any misconceptions or common misconceptions you would like to dispel about grief?
That's a good one. Just about everything you've seen on TikTok, everything you've seen on a television show around relationships with therapists and what therapists say, stuff you see on Instagram. We're not out here checking people and saying all types of lawlessness stuff. The reality is we want to first dispel that coming into therapy is something that you do when you are ready. Sometimes we also encourage our clients to participate in groups when it comes to grief and loss. There's an excellent resource called griefshare.org. They actually have a set curriculum. They host this virtually or in person. Sometimes it houses a faith or in community centers because we find grief and loss is a shared experience. So if I'm in a room with other people and I'm hearing you talk about yours and totally different experience, but if I know that I'm not the only one going through this, then that shared experience gives me more comfort. And then coming into therapy is another space to do that. And you may not come into therapy when you thought you should have, or when people may have thought you should have. For me, in losing my parent, I did not necessarily feel like I needed to go to therapy, but I had symptoms of extended depression where I was just going to work. I had told my husband, I'm a pastor's wife, one of the other hats I wear. I was like, I'm not doing anything in ministry. I'm just coming to church, me and God, and we out and paying the bills.
That's it.
Bare minimum.
That's it.
I did that for 18 months. And so from that, I started to thaw out. Still didn't go to therapy. I went to therapy recently as last year for the purpose of...
Last year?
Yeah, for the purpose
Year 9?
of year 9.
Wow.
Because I had friends. I had faith. I had a husband. I had a really good, what we call protective factors. People who had our backs, people I can call at any time, people who knew when to leave me alone or when to kind of connect with me. I was good. It was when it was time for me, our 25th vow renewal. I was headed back to do it in St. Martin, where I'm from. And I was going back without a parent. And I was like, I think I need to process this, because I left one way and I was coming back a different way in so many ways. And so I was like, oh yeah, it's time for me to be with, check in with a therapist and see what this is about. So the misnomer about, they need to hurry up and get in due time. But if you see that your symptoms have not improved over the course of a period of time, if you find an increase in what we call, fancy word for maladaptive behaviors, meaning the eating too much, not eating enough, sleeping too much, not sleeping enough, and other things, isolation, all the things that are not typical. If those are persisting, then you got to check in with someone.
Okay. What are some healthy coping mechanisms that people can use to navigate through grief?
So I would say identify your support system. So the sad fact is not everybody know how to deal with grief and loss. And I have been that person. Remember, some of us can be comfortable in those difficult conversations, but you may have a friend that's like, nah, I signed up for brunches and lunches and that's it. And all the things that Biggie said in his song, that's what I signed up for. But now you got somebody who died. Yeah, like I didn't sign up for that. So find you another friend. So that's the harsh reality. And it's not that they are not good friends. They are just not good friends for this season that you're in. Yeah. And so your support system is important. I am a person of faith. I ascribe to the Christian faith. I really believe that God meets me where I am at in my suffering. And so a person's faith is also, because we don't have control over death. I am a social worker. I knew people. I did all the things. I navigated the healthcare system like nobody's business. But it could not keep my mother here on earth. And I had to relinquish that natural control that we have. So your support system, your faith, exercise, the eating. Yeah, we all sign around that, right? Because what does exercise have to do with coping? Everything. Because when we can't control the tangible, we can go out there and run and walk and lift weights and do the things and leave it on the paint, like the fellas say. Leave it on the paint and come back to life.
Yes. What can someone expect during a grief counseling session?
So your therapist, your counselor is going to make sure that they capture all the information. And you might have come in and said, well, I lost this loved one, and that's what I'm here for. They're going to ask you everything outside of that, because there are areas for connecting the dots around lived experiences, your culture, whether you ascribe to most or any of the things in your culture, because as Haitian Americans, there are things about death that our parents do that we don't do, and vice versa. And so the therapist is going to want to know all of this through what we call an assessment phase. And then we go through the treatment planning, and that means that with the input of the client, we are able to now create a guide on how treatment is going to be. What is it that you want? What are those goals that you have for yourself? Is it you want to get up out of bed and start renegotiating life with loved ones? Okay, does that mean that you will get on the phone and talk to someone once a week? Like simple things, SMART goal-related things to kind of build that muscle back up. So treatment planning and ongoing care until you feel, and until your clinician feels you both have agreed that we've done the work around this subject.
That's good. I wish I can keep you for an hour.
Bring me back. Bring me back.
I'm going to have to do that. We got a special guest that just texted me and said, great show. So shout out to Stanley. My final question, I'm going to have to bring her back. I'm going to have to, is there a message or a piece of advice you'd like to leave for our listeners who may be grieving or supporting someone who is?
So for the person who is supporting, show up as yourself. Yeah. I was one of those friends. Everyone knew Delphine is not going to be in nobody hospital sitting there because that was a trigger for me.
Of course.
The smells, nursing home smells, hospital smells, like all the things. So I can't be counted on to be there. But even as I was coming here, listen, we got to keep it real with our friends, what our capacity is. On my way here, I have a friend who has lost a parent. And so I'm already thinking what I can Instacart to them because I got to work. I can't, again, the Haitian culture will have you sitting, I've fed, how do you say, dej or dirge, whatever they call it. You're sitting there every day.
Crying.
Just in this state of mourning for long periods of time. The bills don't get paid like that here in these United States. So showing up how you are best able to. And as a person who is grieving, you are not alone in your journey.
Nope.
You are not alone in your journey. Ask for help. And it's one of the things that my husband told me, and I still remember the same evening my mom passed. I was so resistant to having people over. I'm an introvert. I didn't want to deal with none of that stuff. And my husband was like, babe, please allow people to help you. And so allowing people to show up in their own capacity.
All right. So this is it with Miss Delphine Gervais. Can you let the listeners know how they can reach you?
Sure. So for our private practice, you can find us on Instagram at Breakthrough CRC or visit us on our website, www.breakthroughcrc.com. Again, www.breakthroughcrc.com. You can get on there and be like, listen, let me find a 15-minute consult, drop yourself in there, and keep it pushing.
Perfect. So thank you, Ms. Gervais, for coming here on the show.
Thank
We're
you.
going to take a very, very small break and introduce our next couple of guests. Thank you so much. You're listening to Chat with Kat.
Nou menm pa haïtien, lè nou fin grandi ti moun nou ba yo éducation, yo jwen bon job, yo vin fonde fami yo. Ki sa ki ka arrive nan vie jou yo? Ti moun nou yo a paye bil pa yo, petit yo pral l'école, esko deja prepare enterrement? Pa kite ti moun nou yo nan problème, rele Kathleen Barreau nan 786 253 0211 pour ka edo préparer zafè enterrement. Pa kite petit ou yo ap chercher l'argent nan mes amis, rele Kathleen Barreau dans 786 253 0211 786 253 0211.
Are you looking for a peaceful, dignified resting place for you and a loved one? At Caballero Rivero, we're offering a special sale on our beautiful lawn crypts at Southern Memorial. For a limited time, you can secure a lawn crypt for two, including the grave space, vault, taxes, and fees for all just under $14,000. This offer provides a complete package to ensure your peace of mind and the perfect final resting place for those you cherish most. But hurry, this exclusive offer is only available until August 31st. Don't wait to take this important decision. Contact us today to schedule a visit and see for yourself why so many families trust Caballero Rivero with their most precious memories. Call 786-253-0211, 786-253-0211. Southern Memorial, a place of serenity, beauty, and enduring care. Chat with Kat, chaque mardi from 6 o'clock to 6:30 p.m. discussing finance, mortgage, assurance, funeral care sur WSRF 1580 AM and 99.5 FM avec Kathleen Barreau. Nous là pour connecter avec toutes les ressources financières qu'a perdu grandi. All right, all right. So we are now coming down to the last 4 minutes of our show, and I really wanted to bring these very special people to our show today. They are part of the Miami-Dade Economic Advisory Trust, and this department is in Miami-Dade County government, and they work toward advancing economic opportunities and addressing community needs in the form of resources and funds towards small businesses, housing purchases, housing rehabilitation, loans to developers, and youth services. So I want to take the time to introduce Jerry, Thomas,
and Michael Filomé.
and Michael Filomé. Welcome to the show, guys. So I know we have a little bit of time left, like literally 3 minutes, and that's okay because that's just enough time that we need, and you guys are coming back. Can you guys briefly introduce yourselves and share your background in this industry that you guys are in?
Hi, my name is Jerry Mwangi, and I'm the legislative analyst for Miami-Dade Economic Advocacy Trust. You can call it MD. It's a department within Miami-Dade County, and we are here to assist and advocate the blacks in Miami-Dade County to achieve parity with their counterparts. So there's many programs, as you mentioned. I'll let my colleagues introduce themselves.
Okay, hi. My name is Michael Filomé. Tout haïtien qui rele programme là, yo rele petit garçon moi. So m travaille pour HAP, c'est un programme qui aide moun acheter kay pour première fois. Nous bay moun $28,500 pour down payment assistance pour kayo. Then moun sa yo nous gen l'autre programme called rele RAP qui aide moun qui gen tan gen kay. Nous baillons $50,000 pour ranger kay, roof, tête kay, tout bay konsayo. And then next nous avons l'autre programme qui relève Teen Court. Si vous avez un petit monde qui a un problème, plutôt yo aller dans prison, yo vinn en counseling, yo fait l'autre tout bay konsayo, and then yo retourne sans problème ça yo. So ça c'est qui ça nous fait.
Okay. So tell me, guys, we only have a minute left.
Yes.
I know you guys have a town hall meeting coming in next week,
Yes,
and it's
we
3
do.
days. Can you guys talk about why is it important for the listeners to attend?
This event is very important because we also help with trying to get policy put into place that will help. So we want to hear from the community regarding what we discussed, housing issues. We want to hear their feedback about youth issues because there's a lot of interrogation, unethical practices. We want to hear about that. And we want to hear about small business issues, what we could do better to help our minority and small businesses. So this is why it's important. We need more of our youth. We want to reach out to the Haitian community because we don't see much unity within the Haitian community and the Black American community. In Miami-Dade County, we want the young Haitians to kind of take the place of mommy and papi. So that's why we're here to try to, come together.
Yeah.
So the events will be located. You wanted to say something?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Donc pour tout haïtien, pour meeting ça qui a vini, ça c'est une chance pour nous rassembler, pour nous venir ouais qui Jean Miami-Dade County ka aider nous. Ça c'est qui Jean nous pousser pour aussi because gen pile temps les moun yo a fait décision haïtien pas là. Les moun yo a parlé. Ça c'est une invitation pour nous venir là, pour nous mettre voix yo. Faut yo tande qui l'en a fait décision ça yo.
And when is the 3-day town hall?
They will be next week, Monday, September 23rd, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Purple Church in South Miami, 14700 Lincoln Boulevard, Miami, Florida, 33176. We'll have one in Central Miami, which is Tuesday, the next day, September 24th, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at New Jerusalem Primitive Baptist Church, 777 Northwest 85th Street, Miami, Florida, 33150. And the last one will be Wednesday, September 25th, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Betty T. Ferguson Recreational Complex, 3000 Northwest 199th Street, Miami Gardens, Florida, 33056. You can also sign up on Eventbrite. So please go to www.miamidade.gov/mdeet and to get more information. You can also call the number 305-375-5661. get more information.
Okay, so we are done with our show, but they are definitely coming back because they have so much to share. You can reach them at what number can they reach you guys at?
305-375-5661.
And can you say that in Creole? Titom tom.
305 375 661. Did I get it right? I don't know. Vous connaissez un diaspora, moi, il bon dire encore. 305 375 5661.
Okay, perfect. So you were listening to Chat with Kat. We thank you guys for listening to our show. These wonderful guests will be back on our show, so please stay tuned. We thank Miss Delphine Gervais. We thank Jerry. We thank Michael. I'm so sorry. And Thomas, I'm sorry.
Thank you for having us.
And so we'll see you guys next week. Thank you.
Thank you.